Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're going to do a deep dive into something that I think is this invisible prison holding back so many brilliant people we know. It's the pervasive, exhausting, and honestly often paralyzing expectation of perfection.
It really is an invisible fence, isn't it? Especially for people who are, high achievers. They spend their whole lives collecting all the right things, the grades, the fancy degrees, the big job titles, only to hit this massive wall. And that wall is just a fear of failure. It's that little voice that says, hey, if this isn't going to be flawless, maybe you just shouldn't even try.
That fear, that exact constraint is what we're here to unpack today. Our mission is pretty clear. We want to pull apart this cultural pressure, look at the really catastrophic mental health toll it takes, and most importantly, explore the alternative, this radical, freeing idea.
And that alternative is all about embracing courage, risk, and this is the big one, failure.
Yes.
We're using the framework laid out by Reshma Saujani, who's the founder of Girls Who Code. Her work is basically a roadmap for trading in that need for flawlessness, for the ability to just take bold action.
Her own story is a perfect example of this, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, she was the definition of perfection. High achievement, top grades, Harvard Law. She did everything right.
So what was it? What was the moment that made her see the flaw in that whole system?
It was a massive, very, very public failure.
Uh-huh.
Exactly. After a whole life of impeccable success, she decides to do something really bold and run for Congress in New York City. She put everything into it, her time, her reputation, all of it, and she lost. Badly.
And that kind of public failure, after a lifetime spent avoiding any mistake, that must have been a shock to the system.
It was more than a shock. It was a huge learning moment. It was the catalyst. She realized that chasing perfection had actually stopped her from connecting with people authentically, from risking big things, and that the same thing was holding back millions of other women.
So her core message, which really came out of that humbling experience, is to challenge all of us, but especially women, to start cultivating bravery over perfection.
Right. And this isn't just like a self-help mantra. This is about dismantling a really deep cultural system.
It's systemic.
It is. That's the key. It's not just a personal problem. It's recognizing that the deck has been sort of stacked from childhood. So Johnny points out this really critical cultural divide in how we socialize kids, which, sets us all up for this conflict later in life.
Okay, so where does that divide even begin?
Well, think about the basic difference in how we raise boys and girls. Generally speaking, boys are encouraged to embrace risk, to go out and explore, and to fail.
Right.
You see it in their toys, in their play, even in how parents talk to them. If a little boy falls off his bike, what's the classic response? Shake it off, get back on.
Try again. It's the idea that the effort is the point and the failure is just data.
Precisely. They're socialized to have an operating system that's okay with messiness. It celebrates learning by doing, by iterating. Meanwhile, girls are so often socialized toward caution, diligence, being pleasing. The whole story for girls becomes about avoiding mistakes in the first place.
Yeah, so that reinforces a constant, exhausting chase for perfection.
Exactly. If a girl tries something and fails, she's more likely to be told, oh, honey, that's okay, you tried so hard. Maybe just stick to what you're good at.
Or that she just wasn't diligent enough.
Right. And that subtle difference creates two totally different ways of thinking. One is designed for taking risks. The other is designed for flawless, agreeable performance. And our goal here is to really expose those constraints and start breaking free.
Okay, so let's jump into the core of the problem here, the negative impact of all this cultural conditioning. So Johnny kicks it off by identifying what she calls the impossible contradiction.
Yeah, and this is where it gets really tricky because on the surface, this whole girl power era we're in feels so inspiring. I mean, you've got figures like Beyonce, Serena Williams, these monumental successes who show that women can reach the absolute top of their game while also running empires and having families. It's amazing.
But you're saying there's a dark side to that the visibility of this perfect, high-achieving success is actually a kind of trap.
It creates this immense and often just unattainable pressure. The source material argues that the message that gets sent is this relentless command: you must do and be everything.
You have to be successful, powerful, flawless, a perfect mom, a perfect partner.
And this is the key. You have to maintain the illusion that it's all effortless. When you see Beyonce on stage, you don't see the 10,000 hours of rehearsal. You just see the perfect final product. And you internalize that flawlessness is the standard.
Which leads right into this just devastating psychological double bind. Women are pushed to be both successful which often means being aggressive and focused and likable.
And likable culturally means being agreeable, accommodating, not making waves.
That tension is just brutal.
It's devastating because if a woman is seen as too ambitious, too aggressive, she risks being called, difficult or unlikable.
Too much.
Too much, exactly. So she learns to downplay her ambition, to hide how much work it takes, to make her achievements seem smaller just so she seems approachable. It forces this horrible choice between being effective and getting things done and being liked and accepted. And perfectionism is the coping mechanism that tries to do both at the same time.
By just being so undeniably good that no one can criticize you.
Right, but the cost of trying to hit that impossible target, the data points to a really serious and growing mental health crisis, especially among young women.
Rising rates of anxiety, depression.
Burnout. The psychological weight of juggling these conflicting demands, be perfect and be agreeable, is just crushing.
Yeah.
It's this pressure to constantly present a curated, effortless version of yourself, which social media has basically turned into a weapon.
Let's talk about the case studies for a minute because they make this so real. We have Sophie, the 15-year-old. She looks like the picture of success, but she's really unwell.
Sophie is the classic high achiever, the girl who is, on paper, doing everything right. She's on the varsity soccer team, straight A's, she's volunteering, her resume is perfect.
Right.
But the sources show that underneath all that, she's suffering from this intense, debilitating anxiety.
How does that actually show up for her?
Physically. Stomach aches before every single test. Chronic insomnia because her brain just won't shut off. It's constant reviewing her day for mistakes. She can't actually relax.
So the moment she even tries to take a breath, that inner voice just starts screaming at her that she's falling behind.
Exactly. Her success isn't coming from a place of passion. It's being driven by this crippling fear that if she gets a B+ or if she messes up one play on the field, her entire self-worth will just crumble.
Her value is tied completely to her flawless performance.
100%. And this is the ultimate price of conditioning girls to value being diligent and faultless over taking risks and exploring. She's trapped.
And it's not just a teenage phase. The other case study, Erica, a 42-year-old, shows how it grows with you. It matures into this professional paralysis.
Right. Erica is a successful professional. She's respected. She's good at her job, but she is completely trapped by her perfectionism. She struggles with intense anxiety and this paralyzing fear of disappointing people, even people who already think she's great.
So how does that paralysis actually manifest in her work life?
Well, for one, she can't delegate anything important because in her mind, nobody can do it as perfectly as she can.
Oh, I know that feeling.
So she'll spend, 10 times longer than necessary tweaking a presentation that's already great. And in the meantime, she misses deadlines or bigger opportunities because she's just stuck in the weeds.
Her journal entries in the source material show this profound fear of even starting the next big project. Yeah. Because that messy, imperfect first draft is just intolerable to her.
Exactly. She's stuck in this loop where her external success doesn't fix the internal problem. It just raises the stakes for the next perfect performance.
So if this conditioning is so powerful, where does it all start?
It goes back to that early socialization. Girls are taught from a very young age to be polite, to be agreeable, to accommodate others. They learn that their safety and their acceptance comes from managing the feelings and expectations of everyone around them.
Which means women often learn to just suppress their own needs, right? To prioritize other people's comfort over their own voice.
And you see the consequences everywhere, in the workplace, in relationships. Women will, soften necessary feedback, or they'll apologize before they voice a perfectly valid concern.
Or minimize their own achievements when they talk about them.
It's all rooted in that deep need for approval and this profound fear of backlash if they step out of line.
That fear of backlash is so real. I mean, even when women do get over the perfection hurdle and assert themselves, they can still be punished for it.
Absolutely. There's a huge double standard. If a man is assertive, he's a leader. If a woman is assertive, she's
aggressive,
demanding,
unlikable. And so women have to perform all this extra emotional labor to manage that perception, which just drains energy that should be going toward their goals.
Okay, let's bring this into the 21st century. How does social media just pour gasoline on this whole fire?
Oh, social media is the ultimate intensifier. It's the engine of the cult of perfection. It's not enough anymore to be perfect in your real life. Now you have to maintain this flawless, curated online version of yourself for everyone to see.
So you're managing two identities. The real, messy, struggling you, and the polished, perfect version that's designed to get likes.
Right. And what happens when you show the real messy self?
It can be brutal.
The sources call it negativity shaming, which I think is a perfect term. If a woman shares something vulnerable, a struggle, a setback, the response isn't always outright hate. Sometimes it's just silence, or this kind of performative pity that just makes you feel even more exposed. So the lesson you learn is, hide the struggle to maintain your worth.
Exactly. And you're constantly comparing your messy reality to everyone else's highlight reel, which just breeds this deep anxiety and inadequacy. And the really insidious part is that the likes and the followers, they stop being about engagement. They become a measure of your worthiness.
And if a post doesn't perform well, you feel like you're not good enough, which just reinforces the need to be even more perfect next time. It's a toxic cycle.
A completely self-perpetuating toxic cycle.
So how does this then tie into the academic or professional world? I'm thinking about the idea of a fixed mindset.
A fixed mindset is the belief that your talents and your intelligence are just static. You've got what you've got, and that's it. And perfectionism loves a fixed mindset, because if your performance has a flaw, it means you are fundamentally flawed. Your self-worth is directly tied to being perfect.
And gender stereotypes just pour cement on that, right?
Yeah.
By creating these pre-written stories about who is good at what.
Yes. Stereotypes, especially around things like math and science, really limit how girls see themselves. If a girl struggles with a tough math problem, the fixed mindset, which is already amplified by the stereotype that girls aren't good at math, tells her that she's just bad at it.
She internalizes that failure as proof of a core weakness, so she just withdraws.
Whereas the boy in the same situation is culturally expected to see the struggle as part of the process. He might be told, you just need to try a different way. The girl is often told implicitly, maybe this isn't for you.
That one difference in early messaging has these massive long-term effects.
Absolutely. It limits aspirations for technical fields, for daring leadership roles, because the risk of looking imperfect just feels way too high.
Okay, before we move on to the solutions, we have to touch on a really important counterpoint. The source material is very clear about this. While we're criticizing this paralyzing perfectionism, we have to distinguish it from a healthy pursuit of excellence.
This is such a crucial distinction. We are not saying that having high standards is bad. Not at all. I mean, striving for excellence is what drives high achievers. It builds discipline, motivation, mastery.
So perfectionism, in the toxic form we're talking about, is the fear of failure that stops you from acting or finishing.
Exactly. So where's the line between a healthy drive for excellence and that paralyzing fear?
Where do we draw it?
The line is the link to self-worth. If failure or criticism means you are fundamentally unworthy, that you're an imposter, that is the perfection trap.
But if failure is just seen as expensive data, a lesson on the road to getting better.
That's resilience. That's a growth mindset. So many successful people thrive because they have incredibly high standards, but they succeed because they are brave enough to fail on the way there.
So if the cost of perfectionism is this high, we can't just will ourselves out of it. We have to fundamentally rethink what courage even is. We have to replace the idol of perfection with this essential quality of bravery.
Exactly. And the first step is to just directly challenge the oldest myth about courage. That it's some innate male trait, hardwired in our biology.
I've heard that argument before, the evolutionary one, right?
Yeah.
Men were the hunters, taking physical risks, and women were focused on safety and community.
Right, the hunter-gatherer model. But Saujani just completely rejects that biological determinism. She argues pretty forcefully that bravery is not innate, and it's definitely not limited by gender or biology. Bravery is a choice. It's an act of will. It's a muscle that anyone can build.
So when we frame it as something you're born with, it's just an excuse not to try.
Yeah.
But if it's a choice, it puts the power back in our hands.
Exactly.
Okay, so if it's not some big, heroic, innate thing, what is the true definition of courage in this context?
We get a few really powerful definitions. One is this foundational idea that courage is the first of human virtues because it makes all others possible.
Without the courage to try, to risk, to fail, you can't access anything else.
Yeah.
Honesty, persistence, ambition. It's the gateway skill.
It is. It's the key that unlocks a meaningful, self-directed life. And in the context of getting out of the perfection trap, bravery is defined internally.
Not by some external act.
Right. Bravery is the ability to see yourself as flawed and own it without plunging instantly into shame.
That's huge. A perfectionist sees a flaw and immediately crashes into shame.
But bravery allows that flaw to just exist, to
Yeah.
process it, learn from it, and move on. It turns vulnerability into a strength.
And the ultimate armor against all the demands of the world.
Is this line. Bravery, not perfection, is the only true armor there is. Perfection is trying to build this impenetrable wall against criticism, which is just, it's impossible. It's not sustainable.
But bravery accepts that criticism and failure will hit you, but that you have the resilience to heal and keep going.
It's an operating system designed for the real world, and we have to remember the most fundamental truth about it.
Bravery is not the absence of fear, but acting in the face of it.
Yes, you don't wait until you feel fearless. If you wait until you're 100% confident, you'll be waiting forever. Bravery is acknowledging that knot in your stomach, hearing that anxious voice in your head, and taking the step anyway.
The sources even say that sometimes the best way to become fearless is to just walk right into the fire, do the scary thing until it's not scary anymore.
Right. And you can see the power of this redefined courage in big historical moments. The hashtag #MeToo movement is used as this incredible example of collective bravery.
A monumental shift.
It really was. It showed how women redefining courage can have these massive global consequences. The movement started with women who were often isolated and silenced, just making the choice to share their stories of harassment and abuse.
Stepping out of the shadows.
And the individual risk of speaking out. I mean, the potential career backlash, the public scrutiny, it was enormous.
But by acting together, the power just multiplied.
Precisely. It was a historic moment of collective action that led to this unprecedented accountability for powerful people. And it showed that bravery isn't just about, some individual feat of physical strength. It can be the shared, moral, powerful act that dismantles systems.
And the collective nature of it gave people the psychological safety to take that individual risk.
It did. But, bravery isn't always about these huge public movements. We have to see the whole spectrum of brave acts.
The everyday stuff.
Absolutely. It's essential for personal empowerment. Every act counts, from those huge societal shifts down to the really private acts that only you will ever know about.
Like leaving a toxic relationship.
Or a teenager setting a boundary with a demanding friend, or someone simply embracing their true identity. These are all acts of profound courage.
It's interesting. Sometimes the greatest thing you can do is actually less, not more.
That is such a key counterintuitive insight, especially for a high-achieving perfectionist. Bravery isn't always about doing the biggest, boldest, baddest thing. Sometimes it's braver to give yourself permission to be true to yourself by not doing something that is expected of you.
Oh, that's powerful. Like saying no to that big volunteer commitment you feel you should do, or quitting the prestigious job that's making you miserable.
Exactly. That is the courage to set boundaries, to claim your own agency over your life and your values, and to tolerate the potential disapproval of other people.
And that kind of authenticity, whether it's loud or quiet, is what transforms our relationships from these superficial, pleasing exchanges into real, authentic connections. Okay, so we've established that bravery is the answer, but it's a muscle, and it needs to be trained. So let's get into the practical toolkit, the specific actionable things we can do to start replacing that need for perfection with resilience. Strategy 1 is so simple but so profound. Claim the power of yet.
This is foundational. It's a simple little language hack that completely reframes how you look at a limitation or a setback. So when you have that negative thought like, I'm not qualified for that job, or I can't figure out this new software, you just add the word yet to the end.
I'm not qualified yet. How does that one little word change the whole mental equation?
It instantly turns a fixed mindset statement into a growth opportunity. I'm not qualified is a period. It's a dead end.
This is my limit.
Right. But yet turns that period into a comma. It opens the door to possibility. It acknowledges that skills can be developed over time. You're not saying you can't do it. You're just saying you haven't done it yet.
Okay, strategy 2. The drama versus wisdom test. This feels critical for anyone who gets paralyzed by that internal noise before a big decision.
That internal noise is the whole problem. This test is about learning to tell the difference between your genuine wisdom and your fear-driven drama. Your wisdom is that calm, quiet, authoritative voice. It's usually focused on your long-term values.
And the drama.
The drama is loud. It's hysterical. It's driven by fear and defensiveness. It's always focused on the immediate worst-case scenario.
So let's use an example. Say you're about to ask for a big raise. That's a scary moment for a lot of people.
Perfect example. Your inner wisdom would probably say something like, okay, you've done great work. The market rate is higher. Get your evidence together and practice. It's calm, it's reasoned, it's action-oriented.
But the drama voice, the perfectionist fear voice,
The drama voice is screaming, if you ask for this, they're going to think you're greedy and fire you on the spot and you'll never work again. It's completely disproportionate.
and it's all about avoiding the risk.
Right. And just recognizing that fear is the drama, that it's not wisdom, allows you to make a clearer choice and act against those anxious instincts.
Strategy 3 is basically the opposite of perfectionism. Get caught trying. Or, as the book says, start before you're ready.
This one is maybe the hardest mental shift to make. A perfectionist believes they need a complete, flawless, 100% optimized plan before they can take a single step.
Which is why they get stuck in analysis paralysis forever.
Forever, because the stars never align perfectly. If you wait for that, you'll be waiting for the rest of your life. You only figure out the next step by taking the first messy one.
And so Johnny's own story is the proof here.
It is. When she started Girls Who Code, she didn't know how to code. She didn't know how to run a massive nonprofit. She just saw a problem, had an idea, and she started.
The motto here is, I'd rather be caught trying than not at all. The learning is worth more than the risk of looking imperfect at the start.
Yeah, in the tech world, they call it a minimum viable product. It's intentionally imperfect so you can get feedback and get better. We need to adopt that mindset for our own lives.
Okay, strategy 4 tackles the perfectionist's absolute greatest terror, rejection and criticism. We have to normalize them.
This is a two-part process. First, you have to actively request feedback. Don't wait for criticism to sneak up on you. Invite it in. The more you do it, the faster you go from feeling like you got kicked in the gut to feeling grateful for the chance to grow.
It's like building up an immunity by taking small doses.
Exactly. And the second part is to actively normalize rejection. This means you deliberately put yourself in situations where rejection is likely, just to build up your resilience. The analogy in the book is that it's like a pediatrician exposing a baby to germs to build their immune system.
So it changes rejection from being a statement about your worth into just a normal statistical event.
Precisely. If you apply for 5 jobs you're not quite qualified for and get rejected from 4, that's not a failure. That's a successful experiment that got you 1 yes and a ton of data.
There's also this whole toolkit of smaller daily bravery challenges.
Yeah, little mental shifts. Like, take your own advice. Ask yourself, what would you tell your best friend if they were in your situation? You'd be compassionate, strategic. You have to treat yourself with that same kindness.
I love that. And another one is shifting from fear of action to fear of inaction. Ask what scares you more.
Compare the immediate fear of trying, the potential for a bruised ego, with the long-term nagging fear of regret. Looking back in 10 years and wishing you had tried. That's a much heavier weight than the temporary sting of failure.
You also have to practice untangling fear signals.
Right. You have to ask, is this fear signaling a real danger, like signing a terrible contract? Or is it just an anxiety? Is it that old habit trying to keep you small and safe in your comfort zone? Learning to tell the difference is a superpower.
And finally, a really fun one. Do something you suck at.
Yes. Go try something completely new that you will not be good at. Take a pottery class, learn to play the ukulele, join an adult kickball league.
The point isn't to be good at it.
The point is to be intentionally, visibly imperfect. It teaches you that struggling and being awkward is survivable. It might even be funny. It reinforces that the effort is what matters, not immediate perfection.
Okay, so choosing bravery means you are going to fail. It's not a one-time choice, it's a practice. And that means you need a really solid way to recover. Let's talk about how to bounce back.
A structured process for recovery is so important. Disappointment is going to happen, but being debilitated by it doesn't have to be.
Let's go through the 5-step guide from the book. Step 1 is so human. Throw a short pity party.
This is critical. You have to let yourself actually feel the loss. Perfectionists try to just shove the bad feelings down, but that never works. You need to mourn. But, and this is the key part, you give it a time limit. An evening, a day. You let yourself wallow, and then when the timer goes off, you move on. It's a controlled emotional release, not an endless spiral.
I love that. Okay, step 2 directly contradicts all perfectionist training. Celebrate your failure.
This completely flips the script. You have to acknowledge the effort, the courage it took to even try. The mindset is, if I failed, it means I tried. And if I tried, it means I was brave.
You celebrate the act of putting yourself out there no matter what the outcome was. It stops the loss from turning into shame.
Exactly. Step 3 is about the physical side of it. Shake it off. Literally.
Get it out of your body.
You have to. Disappointment, shame. That stuff gets held in your body as tension, as anxiety. So you're advised to do something physical. Go for a run, put on some music, and dance around your living room, do some deep breathing. Movement is key to getting out of that mental loop of regret and releasing the emotional toxins.
Step 4 is the analytical part. Review, reassess, realign.
Right. Now that the emotion has been processed, you can look at what happened objectively. You treat the failure as data, not as a judgment on your character. You ask, what did I learn here that I couldn't have learned any other way?
And then the realignment part involves focusing on your purpose, practicing gratitude, like making a daily list of 3 specific things you're grateful for, and even altruism. Helping someone else is a great way to get out of your own head.
It's the best antidote to self-pity, and that leads to the final step.
Step 5, try again.
Persistence. This is what resilience is all about. You see the setback as just part of the process. You're going to mess up again. But by practicing the cycle, try, fail, recover, try again, you just get exponentially stronger every single time.
Beyond just recovering from failure, the sources talk a lot about internal guidance, about learning to trust your instincts over what society expects from you.
This is about tuning into your own intuition, your gut, and making choices that are aligned with your values, not just choices that are designed to please other people. There's a great example of the actress Bridget Moynahan, who once blew an audition because she ignored her instincts and took someone else's advice. And that painful moment taught her a huge lesson. Always trust your own path, even if it leads to an imperfect outcome.
Because the goal isn't to get everyone to like you, which is impossible anyway. The goal is radical self-acceptance.
Precisely. The work isn't about figuring out why some people don't get you. The work is just practicing being okay with the fact that some people will and some people won't. And that's fine. If you stay true to yourself, the right people will find you.
And finally, we have to talk about the collective part of this. Playing for Team Brave. This means shifting from that competitive mindset among women to one of real collaboration.
Yeah, the sources highlight this toxic old school idea that success is a zero-sum game. You know, if one woman gets the promotion, that means there's one less seat at the table for another. We have to replace that with collaborative energy.
The prime example of this is the Shalene Flanagan effect. When she won the New York City Marathon in 2017, the first American woman to do it in 40 years, it wasn't just a personal win.
No, it was a testament to the power of collective support. Flanagan actively created this culture of unity among her fellow female runners. They trained together, they shared strategies, they celebrated each other's successes as a team victory.
It showed that collaboration raises the bar for everyone, while competition just isolates people.
And that kind of support system only works if we're being authentic with each other. We have to show the mess behind the scenes.
Right. Real success is never effortless, but the perfection cult makes us pretend that it is.
By actually admitting our struggles, by sharing the messy parts of the journey, we relieve that crushing burden of the flawless facade for ourselves and for everyone watching us. It's how you build a real sisterhood.
And the final piece to kill that competitive mindset is generosity.
Being generous with your resources, your knowledge, your connections, it fosters this spirit of abundance. It actively fights against those competitive instincts, which are usually fueled by a false sense of scarcity, and it builds this empowering community where everyone can rise together.
So this whole framework is really about persistence. Persistence in trying, in recovering, in asserting ourselves.
And persistence in demanding this space to be imperfectly, messily human. It's about that ongoing vigilance in owning your identity and your agency. And that commitment is what empowers us and, just as importantly, empowers the next generation of girls to finally be their true selves.
Yeah.
So we've really covered the whole journey today, right? Moving from that paralyzing grip of perfectionism, which is driven by cultural pressure and social media, to the liberating freedom of bravery, which is all about choice and vulnerability and resilience.
Yeah, and the takeaways are so tangible. Choosing bravery, it really transforms your relationships, making them more authentic because you're willing to be honest and share your flaws.
Mhm.
It lets you take complete ownership as who you are. And ultimately, it helps ensure that this toxic cycle stops with us so that future generations can just be their true, messy, powerful selves.
Right. Bravery isn't just for the big dramatic moments. It's about making a lifelong commitment to just showing up imperfectly.
Which brings us to our final provocation, a challenge that sort of builds on this entire idea. Saujani famously says, "In a world full of princesses, dare to be a hot dog."
I love that quote. It's the perfect playful way to say just reject conformity. It's about having the guts to be the first one to do something different, even if it feels a little absurd or unpolished.
Bravery is found in giving yourself permission to just ignore the rule book and not meet other people's expectations. So we want to challenge you, the listener, to find your hot dog moment this week. What is the one thing you are currently doing purely because you feel like you're supposed to? What task, what relationship, what commitment is chaining you to a version of yourself that feels inauthentic? How brave would it be to just stop doing it?
And as you think about that, don't forget that really powerful motivating force we talked about. It is profoundly true that it's better to walk around with a black eye than with a heart full of regret. Don't let the temporary fear of a bruise stop you from going after the things that really matter to you.
Go be brave.